in here, and I will get the sound encoders up and running so that it's streaming out. And you are good to go.
What's your hat say, Q?
What my hat say? My hat don't say nothing. Your hat is fired.
This is from Rafa.
I know.
Great again. Yes.
Make the hood healthy again.
Make the hood healthy again, even better.
Yeah.
All right.
And he got one with that scratched out that say make black farms great again or something like that. I'm about to cop that next for sure.
So you need to wipe some of that forehead grease off your camera lens.
You said forehead grease off my camera lens?
Yeah, that boy greasy.
How I'm looking now?
100% better.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and bring us in if y'all ready.
Yeah, you're good. Go.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the 11th episode of the How About Guys. You got your boy Jermon Booze. You have Asa A, Lori X, the Scholar, Make the Hood Healthy Again, working with our brother Rafa on the grocery trip, holistic, big-headed, hat barely fitting plant guy, all that in a bag of chips. Asa Babe, and then we all have...
That's how you do the intros, Booze.
Hey, man, I was feeling it right then. You know, like every time you don't feel it like that, I was feeling it right now. The hat, it was that hat he had on, man. It definitely gave me some extra juice this morning. You know what I mean? Juiced up. And then we got a kill. All right. It's good to be with the High Five guys this morning. We got an extra fly show on the way for you guys today. We're gonna kick it off like on the news. I saw something interesting this morning where people were talking about possibly having Michelle Obama run for vice president. And I've seen that a few times now. And I don't know. I'll let you guys go first on your thoughts on her possibly being a vice president. I know that's like just a kind of out there topic, but I was curious as to what my brothers thought about that.
Awesome. What do I think about her running for vice president if she does?
Well, yeah. Or possibly being nominated for vice president.
Man, I'm really rocking with the universe, bro. And at the end of the day, Pluto about to shut down all of that, current stuff that we doing now. Like all the systems and the ways that we do things. I'm just waiting for it to keep on collapsing and shutting down from the inside out, So anybody like ruling over us, I ain't really with that. I'm more so for us, standing up, taking our life, taking control of everything, doing it for self, teamwork from the community, grassroots movements and all that kind of stuff, making it to the top. But some type of like person looking down on me, telling me what to do, it's a wrap, bro. I'm not trying to introduce that to my babies.
So that's a no for Asa.
No.
Again, was also our former lady of the house becoming a vice president.
I always got an unpopular opinion when it comes to the Obamas. Like, I think they fell into the same vein as all of the other presidents outside of probably JFK, who got his head popped off for making certain moves. But I think she falls in the same category as everybody else, bro. I'll probably end up controversial and people disliking my comments, but I don't trust politicians to have my best interest at hand, and Michelle Obama is not. You know what I'm saying? She's no different. Her husband is no different. They like really well polished, and they under their presidency, under his term, he made things look a certain way, but also under his term, they had like the most drone strikes ever. And I didn't see a personal, and he wasn't supposed to. It ain't like he was supposed to go in there and make things better for our people, but I didn't see a noticeable change under the Obama administration as opposed to under Bush or under Clinton or under any other president. So her running for vice president don't move my spiritual or social meter. My bad. Her her running for vice president don't move my spiritual or emotional meter anyway. It don't make me excited. It don't make me like, you know, feel like she about to make changes in our community or anything like that, bro. So I really don't feel any type of way about her.
So that brings to mind something else to me then, man. In America, I feel like we often are left with the choice of a lesser evil, right? You know what I mean? I feel like that's our choices in most political races, you know what I mean? Because it's rare that we're going to get the candidate that we really will feel would be best for the position in a space to actually be able to receive that role. Do you guys feel like that's the way things are always going to be, man? Because I'll be honest, man, I got to a point, I don't 100% agree with you guys, but I don't 100% disagree. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're at a place in America where it's always the lesser of two evils for people who look like us. You know what I mean? Like, we rarely have a candidate or somebody who's really in a position to uplift our particular beliefs and political ideologies. Does that impact you guys' decision on how you view things? Like, because it's always that's always the narrative for us.
So can I go first?
Yeah, sure.
So two things. So for one, at this point in time, it's no longer, I mean, we want us to do good and we want to see Black people flourish and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's more so nowadays about vibrations. Because we got plenty of Black devils out here doing crazy nonsense. And it's a whole bunch of people on the planet who don't look like us that's really down for the earth and down for us, you know, getting better or whatever as a people. So, you know, we gotta put that out there and just be honest about that. You know, and I'm not trying to dance against it. Huh?
When I say us, I will say that I kind of refer to more of people who have a similar thought process. You know what I mean? And I agree. Huh?
More like the conscious community, or what you talking about?
Conscious community, man. But you know, everybody who's good is. I mean, yeah. So conscious community in general. You know what I mean? And because I believe. Go for it. So
that's still same thing. So it's still about consciousness and the vibrations emitting from the consciousness. I'm not. Don't beat me up about this, especially the Black community. You know how we be. Oh no, you with the others. Fuck that, bro. Look. If I find a white boy or a white girl that's like pro-humanity and saving the planet, I'm rocking with them over a Black devil whose consciousness is low and they out robbing and killing and stealing, you know, just because they can or just to tear up people's vibrations and they don't have a like proper reasoning or something, you know? If they doing it to like, you know, represent their ancestors, if they got a reason like that, okay. But if they just like on some ratchet low consciousness stuff, I'm rocking with the higher consciousness.
Right.
You know?
Big
so
facts.
With that being said, back to your other question, do we think it's always going to be like this? No. Everything that has a beginning has an ending. Right. So all the ways that they're doing things right now from the top, quote unquote, you know, in the government, that shit is for the birds right now, bro. It's crumbling for one, and then two, it's about that time for a change. You know, that is not working, was not working, and the people are over time when that pressure increases are going to demand, you know, some things get switched up. That's just the way I see it. And it's probably going to happen like that.
You know what this reminds me of, guys?
What's that?
It reminds me of the third episode. So I remember this very clearly. We had our first two episodes, and then like we told Asa, it was like, Asa, you got to say more words. He put up the whole episode. But you know what? I love your opinion. I love your perspective on things. And I think it's great to hear that I think for a lot of people, man, who know Asa, they probably think that he's always so like pro-Black that he doesn't necessarily see when people are vibrating at a different level because they don't have the same, they don't look the same, you know what I mean? And I appreciate you speaking your mind in that perspective, man, because, you know, if anybody hears this who doesn't look like us, I'll be happy for them to know that you also feel that way, bro. You know what I mean? For real.
There you go.
Oh.
God body.
Peace to the gods. Yes.
Okay, we got Kill, you want to bring in our guest speaker today?
Of course, bro. Of course. Yo, can we get a drum roll for my G? So, this is one of the flyest, most trend-setting, most forward-thinking, most positive, most putting on for Detroit, most go to the ends of the earth to represent for Detroit's social economic growth and well-being, entertainment justice, dumb fly artist, one of the coldest, most substantially gifted cats in our music scene. My brother that I done known for 20 plus years.
Yes, sir.
Since we was babies running the halls of Cass Tech. Cass Tech, running the halls of Cass Tech.
Hey, man. Hey, bro.
You couldn't run the halls of Renaissance because it was 2 floors and it was 28 classes. You couldn't run no halls. Right? My brother, real Bryce Detroit, baby, what's cracking, bro?
What's going on, Bryce?
My G. Yeah, your checks in the mail, man. That was amazing.
That's real, though, man. It's real.
Man, appreciate that. Receive that. Peace to all the divine God bodies, all these beautiful Detroit Africans. You know what I mean? Right now, you brothers are doing an amazing job and a major work. This, to me, is that what entertainment justice look like, for real. This is what that new culture look like. So just immense gratitude for y'all, yo. For real.
Yes, bro.
Thank you, Bryce.
Indeed, yo.
So why don't you tell the people what you've been, you know what I'm saying, what you've been doing during the quarantine time. Let's jump into this. What's the pervasive thing going on in everybody's life right now?
Boom. So for me, these past 2 months have really been about, we'll say a couple things. One is this has been an awesome time to celebrate my identity, you know what I mean, in real life, and celebrate the lifestyle that am intentionally living. Where a lot of people have been responding from a fear place to this moment right now. To me, that evidences the self-image that they have in their own imagination, like how they see themselves orienting with the environment. Cats have adopted this hilarious narrative from the settler colonial society. They niggas have convinced themselves that nature is out to get them, that the earth is out to get them. Like, no, that's some shit that niggas learn in the Bible, fam. Like, that ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole population of people where the sun sends them to the early grave. You know what I'm saying? Like, nature did a certain thing on that ass because they lacked civilization for a blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a real thing in certain people's genetic history. You know what I'm saying? And certain people's ancestry, but not us. Not us. So, these last two months have definitely had me on some shit like, yo, appreciate, you know what I mean? Appreciate the Osar, you know what I'm saying? That is me, you know what I mean? Like, appreciate living in right relationship with the earth, appreciate my ancestors, my celestial ancestors, the sun, moon, and stars. Like, nigga, this shit ain't fucking just like some old sexy, ooh, he's deep. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? These are ancestors. These are collaborators. These are parts of our family. Nature is a part of our family. So yeah, really been on 10, you know what I'm saying? As the guy also be saying, like, yo, been on 10 recently, like, yo, I shade a lifestyle, yo, for real. In that, though, have also been taken very seriously on a lifestyle level, the lifestyles that actually create our people to be the perfect hosts for dis-ease and the perfect host for any biological weapon, because this is a motherfucking bio weapon. So everybody, let's all make sure we're on the same page with that. You know what I'm saying? Let us not be confused. This is a form of warfare. This is a wartime in a particular kind of way. But as it relates to being of service to our people and service to humanity, then have definitely been holding in my heart and in my mind the questions around what type of infrastructure do we need to be able to respond at scale when something like this happens, so that our people are, I mean, all shout out to Chicken Soup, and shout out to every remedy that somebody brought down from their ancestors. Like, shout out all those things. At the same time, some of us who choose to access information about more magical and more spiritual ancestral practices in terms of the herbs as medicine for real, and like the real superfoods out here. Like, what's the way to be able to get those type of, you know what I mean, that type of resources to our people in a time like this? And what does it look like to be able to do that shit at scale? Like, you know what I mean? Like, shout out my G Asa, you know what I'm saying, for bringing forward the, you know what I'm saying, for the holy waters and shit. At the same time, like, Asa's one person. At the same time, like KT, you know what I'm saying, one person. We need to be able to, without being rhetorical, for me, looking at this as, yeah, what is the way to be able to scale up that activity so that when something like this does happen, then it's like, oh yeah, no, don't have no fear. You know what I'm saying? You can go to D-Town and they got the mulberry, they got the, mulberry, but they got the elderberry, they got the mullein, we got the comfrey, we got the sarsaparilla. Like, we got these things on deck. We got the watercress, we got the herbs and the greens that we need to ensure our immune system is 100, but also we're talking about longevity too. This is more than just, ooh, if some shit come down, how could I be sweet and then get back to the death diet as normal type shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, nigga really been on that shit, G. Like, really been thinking about what kind of support systems do we really need to be able to support our peoples, because more people get it now. Like, the hospitals ain't the answer. The hospitals are big ass morgues right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, cats is going to die, and I shade to the fact that all this kind of shit is in the newspaper right now. Like, cyanide Grace is just a big ass freezer and people are dying in a good. We need those stories to help people change their perspective on those places as centers for wellness. They never have been. And now it's more apparent that this current infrastructure cannot support people surviving moments like this and living, thriving in beauty moving forward.
Big
So,
Bryce.
yeah, man.
Bryce.
That's that rap life shit.
I'm sorry to cut you off, bro. What I want to do real quick for our listeners who don't know your background and you per se, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to just give a little, could you give a little bit about who you are, your involvement in different things throughout the city, you know what I mean? So we can kind of bring our listener up to speed with who we're listening to right now as you kind of drop all these shoes for us, brother.
I appreciate that, B. So yes, for our listeners, I am Bryce Detroit, Detroit African. Whoop! Entertainment justice is my pedagogy. Have created this movement over the past 10 years. Professionally speaking, I'm an entertainment artist, a storyteller in the ancestral African sense, griot, producer, composer, Baba. You know what I mean? Shout out my babies. So I'm definitely a Baba.
You're not gonna add the award-winning producer part, huh? That's cool. All right, for sure. Humility is fly, bro. Humility is cool, right?
Yeah, we'll uplift that part. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely always striving to be exuding humility, because on some real shit, Bryce, like, I know how dope Bryce is, yo. Bryce dope as fuck. So I appreciate the gods for uplifting me. But yeah, award-winning producer, economy builder in a very real way. Yeah, and just God body, yo. Like, we here, man. Would love to say a lot more about the spirituality piece, but just in terms of how Bryce relates to the world. And thank you, Booz, for that. Yeah, that's Bryce Detroit in a little nutshell.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring people up to speed because I had heard a lot about you prior to this. Wakil does talk about you a lot, you know what I mean? and it's almost like awkward the amount of times he's brought you up prior to. It was like, oh man, why is he talking about this guy again? But and the same goes for like since day one of starting the show, you were probably one of the first people they mentioned as far as being Detroit oriented and influencer. So once we got to like really having guests on, it was just like a matter of time to get you on here. And I do think it's a great time to have you on, man. Like, as you're speaking to, you brought up something that I really wanted to touch on too, because with the quarantine, man, I've seen two things. And it's like, it's not just black or white, but I've seen two things in particular. It's the person who doesn't find this time to be useful and they complain about it, you know what I mean? And then it's the person who finds this time as an opportunity, you know what I mean? And I like that you spoke to it more of an opportunity to develop yourself, man. And I think honestly, you've kind of been in that same realm. You find it as an opportunity to level up to that next space. And I appreciate you guys speaking to that, because so many people just worried about, I don't know what they want, going to the club or going to the bar or going to get a cheeseburger or whatever. And like, it's an opportunity. It's almost like a window inside of our society right now. You know what I mean? And you can either choose to view it or choose to ignore it. And if you want to just keep speaking to what you were saying earlier, as far as how you were utilizing this time during quarantine, and I said if you want to do the same too, man, because I know this has been a beautiful time for you as far as developing your business, and I think this is a great time for a smart individual to really take hold of what the opportunities are out there.
So yeah, can say a little bit more about this time in this quarantine, and definitely want to segue to Asa to jump in. So for sure, have been using this time to ask questions. Those of us who do work in supporting our peoples, whatever that may mean to us, then a lot of the ways, like for instance, for me, because I'm a producer and a lot of my work is around doing programming that brings people together so we can hear new stories, so that we hear new stories about ourselves, so we can be exposed to new frequencies that trigger new inspirations. A lot of that has to do with bringing people together in numbers to a place. Like, that's necessarily had to shift for me. You know what I'm saying? My thinking around that. So it's like, what's the way to do my work, which is based on intimacy and based on, you know what I mean, being able to see and touch and be around my people. So that's just brought forth a whole lot of questions. We did notice maybe like a month and a half ago, that there was a lot of anxious energy in me to come up with some solutions, just because we felt that it's like, yo, your job, B, is to have solutions. Your job is to be able to provide answers, all this kind of shit. And it's like, yo, but we have a lot of clear questions right now and more anxiousness to try to figure out the answer. So let's just take this moment as a time where we really are asking ourselves the questions that will help us to create the new frameworks for how we can see a sustainable future in the short, immediate term of today and tomorrow, and the more long term, a year after this whole thing.
Yeah. A year after. When is the after gonna begin? You know what I mean?
Right.
I was thinking about that.
Already started in Atlanta, bro.
Man, I don't.
Here for Atlanta, they got their nails done in cold-blooded fades. They good.
I don't know if that's the after or just them being so worried about the economy that they just said, fuck it, we're gonna let them out. You know what I mean?
That's what it is.
But Asa, and I just want you into the same vein, because what are you doing? I'm speaking to you. What are you doing during this time as you kind of move forward and start to set up your structure for your new entity that you're kind of working towards?
Oh man, I just been networking and collaborating a lot more. I have way more time on my hands right now. Just fulfilling my purpose and my passion. And Bryce mentioned like an anxious vibe. I would say right there, I just wanted to speak on that. I think that that's our weak ass English language trying to define that energy and that passion that you bring. You know what I'm saying? They can't box that in, bro. That's not something that they could they can actually define with this anglicized language. You just really passionate and you about that cosmic transformation life and you making moves. And this paradigm is something that we just busting through. So that's the language that we are limited to at this time. But personally, right now, man, I'm looking up to brothers like Bryce, like Rafa, like Baba Malik, etc., and just transforming by the day. At home, just investing and taking my money and investing in things that are going to bow down and serve me as vehicles, to get through the next few years, in a different manner. But I'm also using this time to take this quarantine period and to transform it into a cocoon, I'm not trying to come out like a fruit fly or a butterfly. I'm trying to come out like a hornet, like a bumblebee or something like that. But yeah, that's what I'm doing, bro. Super hydration. Huh?
Hornets cocoon himself. Hornets don't have a goddamn cocoon.
I'm being technical, bro. You messed up his fly analogy.
Oh, my bad. It was
You talking about changing paradigms and stuff. I'm gonna go into my cocoon and come out a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah,
hey, man. But that's what time it is. And Bryce mentioned earlier, the term God body. Yeah. For those who are not familiar, we usually, take things like this, peace, God, what's up, Allah, la, 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 and then we just, turn it into a fad to a degree. Some people. But this brother right here, Bryce, this is one of the few people I know. We got to keep in mind, bro. We got flowers and plants and stuff that don't need no human assistance with flourishing, right? That get their origin and they get their powers from celestial things like stars, right? Stardust, plants, photosynthesis, right? But we got to keep in mind there are forces behind the sun, forces behind the planet. So you got to, when he says God body, I could bear witness to this, bro, through consistency. I've always seen him vibrating up to par. But when he says God body, he's talking about himself humbling himself to the degree that divine force can flow and operate through him. For those who get it twisted, talking about, yeah, I'm God and I'm better than it ain't that type of party. He knows who he is and he knows his place in the cosmos, the same as the sun or a cloud or a tree, etc. And he holding it down like that. So just for clarity, for those who may not be familiar with the, the hip hop terminology or the new paradigm terminology post Clarence 13X or something, just wanted to throw that out there.
That's important. That's important.
Clarity is key.
True indeed.
Renaissance helped you a little bit.
Come on, man. Hey. The Phoenix, bro. We rising from the ashes.
The Phoenix?
Yeah.
So, Brian,
signal. Yes, sir. I just want to make sure my signal is good. Seems like it may be a little choppy.
Yo, when you get, to where you need to be, why don't you talk about some of the stuff you've been doing with the North End, bro?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Boom. So, I'm going to say a sentence about entertainment justice real quick. So, yes. First off, as a record producer, like the first iteration of my career, which was the 2003 to 2009, was chief production officer for this independent boutique label. My job was to produce the label's roster and the artist brands, producing artists on an artist development tip so that they would be able to be corporate brand agents. What is a corporate brand agent? Well, that's what everybody motherfucking is who aspires for a Nike partnership, aspires for the Pepsi, the Coke endorsement, not Nextel, but like the Apple and all that shit. So when you see an artist who is wearing Nike and got these different gadgets and goods around them and is name dropping, that's them being a brand agent for different corporations, different corporate products. So Bryce was doing that same shit, like producing artists to be able to use their songwriting to tell stories of how they buy and how they live their consumer life. You know what I mean? to inspire audiences to want to buy the goods that these new aspirational figures are associated with. So that's behavior science. For me, as a behavior scientist, have always looked at my work as behavior science through entertainment, because the bottom line is my job is to create some content that's going to compel you to behave in a certain way, usually a consumer way. So at a certain point, around 2009, they recognized it was making spiritual compromises in order to advance in that space. And we was making some unprecedented advancements, like advancements that niggas just don't make based off the route that we took. So jumped off that path and then decided, and then had the question of like, yo, the only reason that you really wanted to be in that industry space is because the industry has a machine. And this machine is able to distribute your content to tens of millions of people in a fucking 24-hour cycle. And by being able to use that machine and by being able to produce records, because you dope as fuck, that's gonna go platinum, that's at least gonna go gold every time you do something, then that'll be the income and the revenue that you can use to fucking buy the hood and save the hood and all that. It was a black savior complex, but it was still coming from a Peruvian, Osarian place. You know what I mean? But so that was the whole point of me being in that space. So the question that we dealt with was, well, yo, are you still about this mission to get divine content that can inspire people for godly lives? Are you still about that shit, getting it to millions of people? The answer was yes. And it's like, all right, you need to build your own machine then. So what is the machine? The machine is really places. It's people and places. The people have specific professional identities. Some of those identities are songwriters, some are artists, some are publicists, some are marketer, some are videographer and filmmaker, some are distributor. But it's people who have certain jobs and they're doing these jobs in certain buildings. Some of the buildings may be small scale, medium scale, large scale venues. Some of the buildings may be production facilities where you go actually recording studios. Some of the buildings look like mom and pop stores. Some of the buildings look like, yo, that's where, that's a distribution center. So that's what the machine is. The machine is this network of places where certain economic activity happens and where people who have certain job descriptions work, and they're working in concert to create the machine that creates, distributes, promotes music, entertainment. So the work that Bryce is doing in the North End is creating a new African music industry that's based on community-based enterprises. So since 2004, period, because niggas say so, it's like a big run-on sentence, period. New sentence. Since 2014, have been working with foundations to bring resources into the hood to be able to first activate underused properties. So it's a number of underused properties in the North End, in particular on this street called Oakland Avenue. Now, one of the dope things about Oakland Avenue is that Oakland Avenue was connected to Paradise Valley. What's the dope shit about Paradise Valley? Paradise Valley was a black people, and in particular, it was a black culture, economic infrastructure. So black people were creating wealth, generational wealth in some cases, that was rivaling the wealth that was being created in the auto industry. And we were owning all the businesses. And it just so happened that these particular businesses all revolved around arts and entertainment. So we actually have in our physical DNA, as well as in the DNA of our streets and neighborhoods, we got the DNA of Black art and music, entrepreneurship, and enterprise. And then,
I want to just say, I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just had a thought. I had a couple thoughts. So I love you brought up Paradise Valley, and I love that you talked about bringing in the African connection to your work, right?
Yeah.
Do you find it to be ironic at all that North End is being so gentrified as well, where Paradise Valley used to be at. And I was curious too, man, like, have you seen any obstacles? Have you had any obstacles while trying to develop in North End? And I'll just give quickly, so I bought my house a year ago. I'm over on 7 Mile, Illinois in the area, right? And, so I bought my house a year ago, but I was looking in the North End initially, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at a few other areas. And the North End is like the prices of houses and properties have just blew up over there, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it always is a trip to me. It's just like Midtown. Like, I'm happy Midtown has been revitalized. I wish we could have been more involved in the revitalization of it, you know what I mean? And like, I look at the North End, and it's like, I'm happy that the North End is being revitalized. But how involved are we, and how difficult is it for you right now to actually be a part of that process as the prices of North End property goes up, because now it's becoming a hot spot. Sapino's is supposed to have a spot over there now, you know what I mean? And things like that. So a lot of the power players inside the city have found that place to be interesting. I was curious about your thoughts about that, bro.
So one of the things that has been an important work over the past, for sure, 8 years going on is there is a lot of neighborhood development strategies that multiple of us is rolling out. So like myself, through my entertainment justice practice, that speaks to an art and culture-based neighborhood economic development strategy. We got people like, super shout out Jerry and Billy Hebron of Oakland Avenue Urban Farm, which I've been collaborating with them for the past, since fucking 2010. That represents an urban agriculture-based approach to neighborhood economic development. We got Red Door Digital. Shout out my brother Ulysses Newkirk over there. The work that Red Door Digital has been doing, though, in addition to being like a digital printing house for a number of years, the work of building a makerspace, bringing in woodcutters, bringing in laser cutters, and then having programming that allows neighborhoods, like cats from the neighborhood, to come in and learn how to use these tools to not just make goods that they can sell, but to actually be able to make things for like home repair. You know what I'm saying? Like you need a part, then you can go ahead here and laser cut you a part to fucking fix your crib. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that as economic infrastructure. And then we got like how was able to secure this grant in 2017 to purchase a historic bar, the Apex Bar in the hood. So that's like, yo, we activating space, like the garage is on Oakland Avenue, have been activating that with this Detroit African Afrofuturist music music activity for the past 5 years now. Then was able to take that work into actually purchasing property. Created a partnership with the city of Detroit to where they're going to help me with the support of a couple foundations, help me secure these very important lots, and then open up develop Afrofuturist sound park. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that activity has been going on the whole time. That's where my work the guy Akil spoke to it, like, yo, Bryce be all around the world, you know what I'm saying, telling these stories and putting on. Well, the stories that Bryce is telling and doing it at scale is the stories of the real leadership that's driving the renaissance in neighborhoods like the North End. Like, develop the renaissance and all that shit is not coming from downtown, and it's not coming from Midtown. It's coming from people who decided to stay in the neighborhoods, regardless of how hard it was. But it's the us's creating this real ass infrastructure on a grassroots level, and then being innovative and smart enough and fucking confident enough, you know what I'm saying, to be like, yo, yeah, we're gonna go to these foundations, and yeah, we're gonna ask for bags, nigga. Like, no, this is bigger than $2,500 for an art project. You know what I'm saying? Like, cats need hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars to be able to develop things for real, because we know the deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't no motherfucking like, yeah, let's just do the blah blah blah, like a no art project thinking. You know what I'm saying? No arts and crafts thinking, and no more volunteerism. Like, yes, volunteerism is important for some people. At the same time, this society wasn't built on volunteerism.
You gotta
This
make bread.
society was built on some economic shit. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta be about
Off
bread.
capitalism, and we're extracting ourselves out of capitalism.
Yeah.
So some of us got to be warriors and fearless in attracting capital, so that we can do some real work on some real shit. So like that's the main challenge to me, is just the challenge of narrative. You got channel 2, 4, and 7, and you got you know what I'm saying, this is all due respect to all the ethnicities, but you got other ethnicities, you know what I'm saying, who have new money that's very deep and old money that's very deep, and they're able to buy media relations. They're able to buy airtime and tell their story of Detroit's Renaissance. So the biggest challenge is us being sexy, fly as fuck, and innovative, and telling our story in a compelling way that lets niggas know, like, in real life though, it's black and brown people, it's Detroit African and indigenous people who are really moving shit forward in these neighborhoods, yo. That's what the fucking story is. So that's been the challenge that Bryce has been stepping up to, and approaching it by the intersection of entertainment and architecture, entertainment and design. Like, let's design beautiful things, beautiful objects. Let's do entertainment programming in this spectacular way that brings people's attention to it. And then once we got your attention, then it's like, Detroit African, bitch, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Just all you know what I mean? So, yeah.
I got a million questions.
Bro, Bruce went last, bro. I got a question, bro.
All right.
Bruce went last. We taking turns. We being civilized.
You know I'll hog this motherfucker if you don't get me. Go ahead.
Yo, Bryce, can you speak on, because you mentioned in our DNA, you know, we got all this power, potential, and history. Can you please speak on pre-Detroit and pre-Detroit? And how did we get this name from? You know what I'm saying? For people who not really hip like that, you know?
Appreciate that, G. Fuck yeah. So we are all standing on Anishinaabe territory in a very real way. So what is Anishinaabe territory? Anishinaabe is the name of the First Nations people who have been the custodians of this land before the first French colonizers stepped foot here. That's another thing too, yo. What the French people don't tell you is how many of them motherfuckers was just wholesale slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? When they first touched down on this ground, like, colonization was not an easy process, and it was not some process of a dominant culture invading somebody else. Nope, it took a very long time, and it was blood red for the first whole part of that shit. But anyway, this being a First Nations, this being an Anishinaabe territory, what that means for me is, as a diasporic African, on some earth identity shit, but as a diasporic African, then the indigenous peoples of this land, we are all one big ass family. So this land is rooted in a spirituality. It's rooted in a celestial and earth-based magic science, spiritual science. Bryce calls it magic. And there are customs, there are cultures, there are points of identity that is in the soil of this land. And for everybody born in Detroit, that spiritual essence is actually in your DNA as well. So before the French came over and named it Detroit, this was already a magical place. And this was already a magical place, period. New sentence. One of the important things to me about tapping back into indigenous points of identity and African ancestral points of identity is that, first off, these points of identity exist outside of the colonizer's narrative. For the past 1,000 years or so, niggas have been creating identities that are essentially characters of a colonizer story. The colonizer said we was this, the colonizer says we was that, the colonizer say we ain't this, colonizers say we ain't that. And because of violence, niggas have been adopting these identities. So now it's like, nigga, I'm this, nigga, I'm that, I'm not this, and I'm not that. Nope, those are just characters in somebody's fucked up story. So this land has its own stories that are way older than the settlers' history is, the settler stories. So shout out, Asa, thank you for that question, just to be able to ground us in the fact that this is not a colonized, we are not standing on a colonizer's land. We're standing on Anishinaabe land that happens to have some colonizer infrastructure on top of it. But we're still standing on the blood, the bones, and the spirit of ancestors that go back tens of thousands of years, just to keep it in the comprehensible time span. But we talking about hundreds of thousands of years in real life, you know what I'm saying? My G's know, like, us on this earth, on this version of earth, that's another conversation, how this version number 2, you know what I'm saying? But like, we go back millions and millions and millions of years, yo. And this is not some old esoteric fly shit. This is not some new age spirituality shit. This is facts. And these facts are in us. You know what I'm saying? They are of us. Yeah.
I just wanted to veggie back on that real quick. For those who are not familiar, when he says the new earth, the second earth, and all of this, we actually have historical text on stelae and pyramids over here and overseas in so-called Africa, but over here indigenously too. We have texts that literally translate into English and say that the sun has set twice, 3 times, 6 times, 7 times, where it now rises, and it does the same thing where it now has set. So with the electromagnetic poles have switched many times. I've seen up to 7 so far. You know, I haven't seen that on both hemispheres.
I think you still confusing for the layman. So I still think he was like, you still want to weigh in with people head. And, I think
hey man, pick up book.
No, but it ain't fair. Hold on, let me give y'all something. A lot of people who listen to this, we work with and we know. And like, you can say you're the book, but sometimes you gotta
read people where they at.
Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. And that's why, like,
they're not about to read a book, bro.
When we say the pole, you mean as far as
the North Pole and the South Pole.
Yeah, so reverse. So I get that, but why is that important? Like, explain. So you said it's happened 7 times. Why would that be important? Why would those 7 times be important? What does that mean when that 7 times are happening?
So currently what you see going on, and it is an example, you have the electromagnetic field decreasing, dropping, right? You see the sun being able to penetrate to the point where they got to throw up goddamn chemtrails every single day just so they can stay alive. You see transformation all over the place during these times. But you literally have the charge of the earth changing to the point where plant life, animal life, civilizations, all these types of things take a transition. So right now we see Detroit, like, as far as longitude and latitude, we up north, right, away from the equator. The way the earth is moving, keep in mind it's supposed to be spinning, right? But the North Pole and South Pole are constantly changing up by the day at this point, right? But eventually you'll see Detroit, what we call Detroit, closer to what we would term the equator on the earth, meaning it's about to get tropical here. You know what I'm saying? So small stuff like that. But I say that to say, like, the earth has been through a whole bunch. You know what I'm saying? If you, many people, you can Google and see research and evidence, documentations nowadays about, like, what's inside the North Pole and South Pole and all types of stuff they hiding, right?
So just in short, when you said, you're saying like new earth, when you're saying the pole change, you're saying like the earth has transformed each time that pole changed and flipped, which I've seen a lot of things that speak to that too. So I mean, I kind of got a good idea where you're going. And the only reason I slowed you down, bro, just because I realized what I showed, that people watch it and like it's hard for them to follow some of you guys because you guys are very knowledgeable and embedded in these communities where this is common lingo. And I like for people who are reaching out to also be able to grasp from this information and to be able to come on board with you guys, because, you know, you can throw a lot of stuff at somebody, but if they can't actually grasp it for themselves, they'll never really be able to retain what they're saying. So I appreciate you giving that breakdown. And I'm still in the moment because I wanted to ask Bryce a question. Because you brought up a couple things that I want to speak to. One of the things, the kid turned his hat back, which is still stupid. You brought this word Afro-future, right? And like, I think for a lot of people, they don't, I'm becoming familiar with it because now you got Afro-tech. You got Afro being thrown in and interjected in different ways. What exactly does Afro-future mean to you? And can, what does that mean?
So Afrofuturism for me, people started calling me an Afrofuturist in like 2014. So that's when it became necessary for me to like define this shit for myself. Because sometimes niggas say shit and they'd be like corny, you know what I'm saying, on a level. But so Afrofuturism, can you hear me? My signal good?
Yeah, you good.
All right, good. So Afrofuturism for me is just, it's a way that ancestrally we used to live in terms of me in my moment on earth right now. My identity is such that I'm thinking about what future do I want to see for my babies, for my village, for the larger of my people, you know, my people at large. Like, what future do we really want? And then being so diligent about either one, imagining that future, or for some of us, and Booze, this is some real shit, but for some of us who this ain't our first lifetime on Earth, and we've been on Earth many different times, and we understand the multi-dimensionality of us. So for some of us, it's not about imagining the future, it's about bringing the future to Earth when we incarnate. So for some of us, it's that aspect, but the bottom line is, whatever this future is, that we look at, what are the ways for me to behave right now, in my moment right now, and what are the behavior patterns that is needed for me to be able to bring that future to life, period. So Afrofuturism is simply a black-bodied person, a diasporic African person who lives their life in the present in a way that actually builds towards a very intentional future. So from the indigenous perspective, like some of our indigenous family, they'd be like 7 generations, you know, so we think in terms of 7 generations. We'll give you a concrete example. Afrofuturism on a concrete way looks like agriculture. How right now, for instance, last year at the end of the growing season, when we was in harvest season and we seed saving and all that shit, and we're putting the beds to sleep, then we're already thinking about what crops do we want next year? What crops do we want in 5 years? Like, how big do we want this garden to be? If we want this garden to be able to provide food for this many people over this amount of time, then what do we got to do right now? What do we got to do next year? What does crop rotation need to look like in the next 24 months? Like, we already bring this futuristic perspective because we're starting with the question of how do we make this thing possible in the future? And we're looking at how we behave right now. So that's Afrofuturism. It's just like the word hip hop also in terms of lingo. It's just lingo to describe how niggas now behave in ways that build a future that they've already thought about. For real, and but bringing that future to life now though. So like, for instance, for all the people who was able to experience me with the mothership, that mothership was an example of a futuristic tool. Like, this is a tool, and this is the way, like, on a level, shit is going to look, you know what I'm saying, in the future, but we're bringing this imagination now to give people new inspirations on what is possible for the future. For those cats who've seen my newest entertainment design installation, the teleportal. The teleportal is another thing like that. It's like, yo, we're making something now, collaborating with architects. Shout out Aaron Jones. But we're collaborating with architects now to design things now that actually represent what tools will look like in the future, as well as it's giving people an idea right now of the possibilities, the imagination that's possible in the future. So that's where Afrofuture, just like hip hop, like hip is to know, hop is the movement. That's what we're getting back to that on a lingo level. Hip just means to know what's going on right now, and hop means to know the movement of things. And then from being hip to what's hopping, then you can design what do you really want to see for yourself, for your neighborhood, for your people. And then putting that, and then using the magical modalities of storytelling, of visual art, you know what I'm saying, to project these futures forward.
Oh, Bryce, hold up. That was a perfect segue. Perfect. Because we forgetting in all the, the dope work that you do for the community that you also put on the hip hop side, bro. You are
absolutely
a hip hop artist, bro.
But I
plug
the
IG, plug the coldest album in Detroit. I said it. Came out 2000. Structured Water. Sawed off on the wall like a work of art.
What? A picture blowing this shit. Yo, that's one of my favorite bars on the whole fucking joint. Yo, like, was hoping that somebody built that shit. Because if you'd have seen me, nigga, when that shit came out my mouth, G, woo! Almost turned the studio up, nigga. Like, oh, wait, come on, G. Like, yo.
On everything I love, word to my father, bro. I walk around the store at work and I'm just rapping that shit loud as hell, bro. So much so that team members, when I say it, they finish it just like you did, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that means a lot, G.
Yeah,
that
bro.
means a lot. So yeah, the IG, catch me at Bryce Detroit on Facebook, the artist page, official Bryce Detroit, the website, brycedetroit.com. Yes, just released.
How you spell Bryce?
Oh, BRYCE Detroit, all one word. Yes, did just release a very important album on the 21st century hip hop tip called Structured Water. Structured Water is more than an example of what pop culture looks like in the future, because that's definitely one of the reasons why I created that project, is to give cats an idea. Like, this is what the mainstream will be in the future when misogyny is dead. You know what I'm saying? When divine masculinity reigns supreme. And by divine masculinity, we're talking about men who have balanced both of their poles, their divine masculine and divine feminine, to be able to be these fucking new divine beings, you know what I'm saying, on earth. Being able to uplift the women, being able to love every aspect of loving women. So that means from the heart to the mind to the body. Like, yes, nigga, it's beautiful. Yes, say you love pussy, nigga, that's fine. At the same time, you know what I'm saying, in the future, we are healed. In the future, we are transformed and transcended from the objectifying and the disrespect of our women. So yeah, like when we say new mainstream, we talking about that shit, because we acknowledge that when we talking about mainstream hip hop, the misogyny is a style. Misogyny is almost like a wardrobe for the contemporary artist. And niggas think that they must practice homoerotic behaviors of disrespecting their women to be cool to men. That's some, shout out to my queer people, but that's some fugazi faggotitis type shit. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna diss women to be cool to niggas? Bro, side-eyeing my niggas, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so that's what Structured Water is on one level. On another level though, on the deepest level, it is a conversation starter. It is a symbol to trigger in the ancestral, in the indigenous being, that we are in fact structured water. Our cells are bricks. Our cells are foundational building elements, and in these cells is fluid. This fluid is a form of water. When that water is structured improperly, niggas know what the result is: cancer. we know it. We talk about unstructured water a lot, or misstructured water a lot in terms of sickness and disease. Yet we need to have the conversation around what is the proper structuring of water look like? Well, it looks like a healthy, vibrant, radiant body. It looks like cells that on a mitochondria level, you know what I'm saying? When we say vibrant, the vibrancy, the electricity, the potency of the cell, well, that's based on a certain kind of health. That's based on a certain type of water being structured through minerals, being structured through thoughts in a certain kind of way. So our bodies on a cellular level is water structured. This earth is water structured. And it's time for us to have deeper, more comprehensive conversations on the importance of water. Because it's more about, like, you know what I mean? If you know Asa, if you know Akil, then you already know you about to catch a gallon of water a day conversation, at least. Like, nigga, at least a gallon of water. Because, like, you know that script. At the same time, why, though? Why is water so important? Because we are water in a certain kind of divine way. Why is clean blood so important? Because our blood is a certain type of water. So so that's that shit. That's structured water, and you get all that just by listening to that new pop culture. All you gotta do is listen to the album, and your whole shit, all your DNA, you know what I'm saying? All the RNA is gonna be triggered and activated, and that's the point, you know what I mean? Us using entertainment to bring this magic to our people, so that we're hitting our folks on an emotional level, we're hitting our folks on the astral level, and then we letting that do the rest.
Man,
Yo,
you know how we get down, bro. I can sit here and talk to you for the next 2 or 3 hours, bro. We got some
bro.
touch on, but we limited to our time, man. We
Overstood, G.
I'm sick right now, bro.
This
Because
is part one, bro. This is just part one with Bryce, bro.
I appreciate you, God. Yeah,
We
man.
gonna have to do part 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, bro.
Yo, whenever you have me, man, then you already know I'm right there. Right there.
We
For
appreciate
sure.
for real, God Body, for coming on, bro, for giving us your time, bro, because time is literally the most important thing that we have in this physical realm, bro, is our time. Your time, that's like some real important, intimate stuff, bro. So we appreciate you, bro. Appreciate how you put on for our city, bro, for our people, for the change that's going on that's very real and present and tangible right now. Like, we appreciate you, bro, because you put yourself on the line. When you say frontline Detroit, bro, you put yourself on the line for us, bro. Like, for real, you put your life on the line for us, bro. So much love, bro. Much respect. And we chop it up with you, bro. Like, super dumb ASAP.
Yo, my last thing is just a major asante sana to each one of you, you know what I'm saying, divine men, for creating this space to make sure that we have these transformative, transcendent conversations, giving people access to God information. And when we say God, Asa already noted on it, man. We talking about some very real behaviors and very real celestial energy. Special shout out to you, Booz, for making sure that the conversation stay on Earth as well. Because we start with the sun, moon, and stars. You already know. So appreciate you, man. Appreciate all of y'all.
Yes, bro.
Yo, we're going to wrap it up here, y'all. But one thing we're going to start implementing is what we discussed. We want to share resources with you all, too. So Bryce mentioned Structured Water. The first thing you need to go and do is cop that album. After you cop the album, if you're interested in researching further for yourself, he has multiple books, but Dr. Masaru Emoto, this is one of his books, The True Power of Water. He has one called The Secret Life of Water, The Secret Powers of Water. And this is one of the guys that spearheaded a lot. This is by Dr. Gerald Kolak. So you could probably find some things from him on YouTube if you don't feel like reading the book. But check those two out whenever you get a chance for further research and studies.
Bet. All right, man. Much respect, Bryce. We'll holler at you, bro.
Joe, peace, y'all.
Peace to the God.
Peace to the guys.
Dave, you are the best. And you said 300 N-words today. You are the best.
Let me